think it was a Friday, December 10, 2021, when my friend Peyton and I decided to take a short flight from Maui to Oahu to hike the infamous and illegal Stairway to Heaven before the locals planned to tear it down. It seemed like talks were ramping up, so we decided that this was going to be our only chance.
HPD says between March 14th and March 23rd, they issued 93 citations for trespassing on state property and made 6 arrests. The stairs remain closed to the public, and its future is still up in the air.
And no matter what entrance we tried, the police presence fell just short of Fort Knox. There was absolutely no way in. We found a church location near the stairs and decided to hike along the fence up the mountain to see if we can get to the stairs from the back of it, contemplating how we would split the fine if we were to get caught. I remember pushing through the dense jungle foliage deeper and deeper, eventually falling into a drain gutter and tearing my shoes wide open, shortly before we decided that it was time for us to give up, as we settled on the airport hike on the A.K.A. Trail, which is located near Dillingham Airfield in Mokulea on the North Shore with our tail between our legs. And that was it. Until 9 months later, Saturday, September 10th, 2022, I came up with a new plan. I booked an Airbnb last minute and a flight while I was staying in Maui to try again, only this time I was solo. All the advice online was pointing toward taking the back way, which was the Moanalua Trail, roughly 11 miles of a narrow ridgeline hike that stretched into the clouds. I was all in.
The suspects fled before police arrived. The community association president says crime has been on the rise.
The trail of the Stairway to Heaven draws hundreds of hikers, but after wind and rain triggered a landslide knocking out trees and part of the stairs, the city sent up a team to assess the damage.
About 11 o'clock this morning, officials say a 17-year-old hiking with friends when he fell some 30 feet off a trail in Moanalua. Luckily, crews were able to get to him, find him, and airlift him out to safety.
Slightly unsettling. I arrived at the trailhead, which was basically in a neighborhood with a trail behind a playground. Very unsuspecting as an entrance, but it was completely dark, so I started on my way in a pair of Nike Daybreaks, which may have well been mosquito netting with a rubber waffle sole glued on, which I would later regret. I brought my GoPro Hero 10, my GoPro 360, my Sony A7 IV, along with 40 pounds of lenses and a Mavic 2 Pro, just complete amateur photographer gluttony, so that there wouldn't be one shot that I would miss. It added so much weight, and while it was a great workout, it was completely unnecessary and brutal on the way down. I was about an hour into my hike wondering why I wasn't going uphill yet, while almost simultaneously running into a local as I approached and noticed he was holding a gun and didn't even break his stare to make eye contact, as I asked him if he knew where the ridge trail started, and he just pointed to continue down. Now, I was pretty awake at this point, walking at a pace that would rival the finest Olympic speed walkers, and I had to make a quick decision because I remembered a small fork near a creek, and my gut was telling me that I missed the trail up the ridge. So I decided to walk back about 3/4 of a mile, and thankfully, I was right. I was finally on my way up to the infamous Haiku stairs. As I navigated through the tangly brush, I couldn't help but have a huge smile on my face, because all of the terrain in Hawaii is one of the most beautiful and diverse natural landscapes, and more importantly, predator-free. It's the only jungle you can wander in the dark carefree without the fear of a dangerous animal attacking you, unless you have a chicken allergy. They can pop out of nowhere at times. With every few hundred feet of altitude, the trees would change, new plants would appear, and by this point there was enough morning light to show me my surroundings. The trail narrowed, the rocks started to show, and the real hike had just begun. Then the view got better and better.
This trail is beautiful. I'm about to go over the cloud layer, but that's so steep. I might be crying.
Certain sections had multiple ropes because of how steep and muddy they were. As I got closer to the top, clouds started to roll in, and I was a little worried that I would be the idiot solo hiker trapped up here in the rain or on a mudslide needing rescue. As the terrain continued to get steeper and the ropes more difficult to climb, I really started to look inward at my lack of preparation. I had brought the wrong shoes, when I probably should have brought crampons. The weight of my pack was killing me on the rope climbing sections. The trail became so muddy and narrow, I started to even get vertigo at some of the spots that were only about 4 foot wide, thinking that I was going to slip and slide down the mountain like I was on a muddy water slide. I didn't bring enough water, or even tell anyone where I was going. Stupid, I know. I got to do a lot of thinking on this hike, and there were moments where it felt like this island was just screaming at me to not be another tourist taking a photo on the Stairway to Heaven, and then, almost perfectly on cue, even more clouds rolled in.
I'm at the top of Haiku stairs, and this is hands down the sketchiest thing I've ever done. I'm gonna be completely honest. Didn't really think about this hike other than the fact that I wanted to do it.
I walked the final part of the trail on the top of the ridge, drank the last of my water, and then I just paused. I took it all in. I looked around me, the greens, the horizon, the islands in the distance. It was just so beautiful. Since I was the first person up there, I decided it'd be a good time to just meditate and reflect on not just the hike, but everything that was going on in my life. I was up there alone and had a lot of things that just needed to be released. If I'm going to be honest with myself, that might have been the entire reason why I went on this hike. So much unresolved frustration internally and externally that I had all of this energy and wanted to push myself to do something. I saw the rails at the end of the stairs in the distance, along with the radio tower, and it was barely peeking through the fog, and I decided that that was it for me. I really didn't need this photo. I accomplished my mission coming up here. I was at the top. I could see Chinaman's hat floating in Kaneohe Bay far in the distance, and I had nothing left to prove. I kind of wanted to save myself the online hate. For me, this hike ended up being roughly a little more than 12 miles, and I did it on a leg with a completely torn ACL, so for that, I was proud. Got to work out a few deep-rooted things that I was struggling with, and I probably lost about 10 pounds of water weight along the way, so for me, it was 10s across the board. This was an incredible hike, one that I'll remember for a lifetime, and I was able to respect the local laws, which never hurts. Thank you, Hawaii. You've never let me down. Mahalo.